Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Suzerain. Let us continue on from where we last left off. Yeah, so you synchronize, that's fine. So you went to a meeting. Not a meeting, went to we went to an event last time, so we're going to try to kind of fix a relationship with the Bloods a little bit. I walked to the White Room with a cup of coffee in my hand. I had a meeting with the Vice President on the current political situation. We got more progress here. It's almost done, let's go. Out when the white doors entered the room, Lucian immediately stood up. Good morning, sir. We have a long day ahead. Let's begin. I want to provide you with some quick updates on the current political situation. He pulled out a few documents from the briefcase and laid them on the table. Mr. Hall has reported to me that he's almost concluded the plan for the next steps that we can take to improve our economy. He said he wanted to solidify the plan before it was presented to you. He'll schedule a meeting soon to go over our options. Simon can pull it off, I'm sure. He's never failed me before. Mr. Hall is a savvy man. I'm sure he will deliver as well. He closed the folder and put away the documents. That is all for the quick updates. Well, this is it for now. As I mentioned, this is just a quick update. If anything changes, inform me immediately. Of course, Mr. President. I left the room to attend my next meeting. That's it? I'm expecting a little bit more. I decided to act to stop polio. Government imposed mandatory vaccine policy. What do you mean? Like, polio is like a really shitty disease, right? Chapter 4, checkmate. Okay, so I think this is, the final chapter? There might be 5 chapters. It's 4 or 5 chapters, so we're almost done the game. So what is on the news? Hegland would take all the necessary steps. Okay, that seems like it could be a problem. Women's Liberation Act. The Assembly, in cooperation with the Commission of the Status of Women, passes the following laws. 1. Criminalize domestic violence that occurs against women. Section 1 gives state protection to abuse women. Section 2 enforces equal pay in women in the workplace and allows companies from paying less or more for the same positions. Section 3 affirms the education system would provide equal treatment for those genders. And Section 4 enacts maternity, pay leave, and state-subsidized daycare. It's going to cost us 1 budget. Only being a -1, honestly, is not so bad. I mean, think about it this way. We spent basically the entire game in the negatives, right? Almost the entire game we've been in the negatives. And our budget's almost maxed out. So to me, that seems overall pretty good. End of the day at home. Is it done? It's done. We finished it. Conrad. Fantastic. It was raining as Sergei dropped me off at home after yet another grueling day at work. The guard held an umbrella over my head, and I walked from the car to my front door. Inside, the house was completely dark. I flipped on the light in the kitchen and find a note from Monica. Tira had called her in for a last-minute women's right meeting. She dropped Dina off at her friend's and left me some food for reheating. I took a pot out of the fridge. It was filled with an unidentified grayish-looking stew. Evidently, Monica's excellent cooking had been the first casualty of her political career. I sighed and put a pot in the stove. While I was heating up, I went to the living room to fix myself a drink. Suddenly, the phone rang. I went back to the kitchen and answered it. Frank's voice was heard on the other end. Oh, I thought Mom would pick up. Sorry, you're stuck with your old man. I didn't mean it that way. I just figured you'd be working. There was a long silence. I got the record you sent me. Not bad for old folks music. You take that back. How's Uncle Peter doing? I mean, I haven't heard from him since the press conference. Okay. So it's messed up what he did. So, I've been seeing this new girl at school. Really? What'd she like? She's amazing. Bloodish, actually. Her parents are big supporters of yours. I can't wait to meet her. Maybe I'll bring her home for dinner next week. I suddenly became aware of the smoky smell coming from the kitchen. My dinner was burning. Good catching up with you, Frank. Yeah, okay, bye. I raced over to the stove and turned off the burner. The bottom of the pot was charred, but part of the mysterious stool was still salvageable. I ate alone in the flickering light of the television, wondering when Monica and Dina would get home. Okay, so what's new? Election campaign ramps up across Sordland. Former VP steps back from public life. Historic moment for Swords Women as Liberation Act signed. Swords Corporations bemoan Women's Liberation Act. Okay, so now we have excellent women's rights in the country. We got high employment. We're maxed out. Economic development is through the roof. Can't get any better than this, unless there's going to be like an economic crash at some point. I don't know. Then the Human Dignity Bill. The newly proposed bill will amend Section 3 of the 1923 Legal Transaction Act that allowed the legalization of transactions which occur in non-registered businesses or other entities, like single persons, if the parties delivered accurate documentation to the financial authority. This creates a legal loophole for prostitution. The Human Dignity Bill will protect common decency and prevent violation of moral principles that occur in the act of prostitution by making it a legal offense in which perpetrators are punished by law. So this is for, you know what, we'll veto this one. Okay, we protect the sex workers. I mean, Nuremberg, like, they still haven't invaded us, right? My problem is that the chapter is called Checkmate, which overall I think kind of has like a bad feeling to it. A storm was on the horizon outside my window. Inside my office, however, it was very warm and cozy. I straightened myself up next to the sofa, next to the fireplace, and looked at the monsoon. Who was sitting on the couch across from me. Here, he was representing all 8 bluish members of the assembly. He had dark creases under his eyes from a lack of sleep. As I said earlier, we've been working on this bill for a long time, Mr. President. I've always done my best to represent my people and keep getting blocked in the assembly. We can't have the same happen again. I always brought my people's concerns to the assembly, raised my voice whenever our rights were in question. We fought to have assembly to at least have a proper discussion. But all that we get is disrespect, MPs shouting racial slurs at us, not allowing us to speak. Not only the National Front, but the USP, he sighed. I don't even remember the time when Miss Tory allowed me to finish a speech. The Assembly do not take us independent seriously. And you, Mr. President, have approved anti-British policies. I know, or want to believe, you only did this for your political power. I am here to ask you to reconsider your stance. We can make a difference in Sordland together. It's true that I have some regrets over my actions, but how can I help you? We should start by undoing your regrets, Mr. President. You were not only silent about the racism in the country, but enabled it. And you targeted our language and banned it in schools. What are these laws if not an attempt at cultural genocide? It's time to undo these mistakes, Mr. President. Hey, what are you asking me to do? Our proposal will give amnesty to those who were falsely arrested for having ties to the Democratic British Freedom Front. Pass proposal as a decree. You don't need the assembly. And let us independents form a commission for minority rights. Okay, I'll do it. Thank you, Mr. President. He rose up and walked up to me and extended a hand. It means a lot, thank you. We shook hands. Suddenly, we heard a knock on the door and Lucien entered. Sir? I'm sorry, I thought your meeting was over. Mr. President has already decided. We can call it over, Mr. Glade. I was already leaving. Great. Then we must go to the meeting room, sir. One of our new campaign advisors has some plans for the election, and he's waiting for us. Okay, let's go. So what's happened now? Vaxland blockades Hajiland. We have... I think something in law changed, but I don't know what it was. Minorities' Rights Act. Okay. God, there's so many things here. Fund political youth group. The Alcohol Tax Act. The GNA proposal to the ATA to socially deter excessive amounts of alcohol consumption that has arisen in general populace and to increase tax revenues. Section 1 will propose a 20% tax on the sale of alcohol products sold in the country. Section 2 makes local alcohol production that is destined for export exempt from taxation. And Section 3 establishes a 25% import tax on foreign alcohol produced, which comes from countries that have no trade regulations imposed on these types of goods. Sure, we'll sign it. We'll get one more budget out of it. We've reduced alcohol consumption in the country. And the fair luxury tax. The Assembly proposed an amendment to Section 4, or Subsection 6 of Tax Code of 1949. The FLTA seeks to improve the fairness of taxation system and increase revenues. Section 1 sets a 15% tax rate that will be imposed on items of luxury goods classified, determined by the Ministry of the Economy. This encompasses jewelry, furs, sport cars, yachts, private planes. Section 2 of the amendment will establish a 10% estate tax for the conduction of purchase, sale, and transfer of property, in particular the inheritance situation. You know what? Give me more money. There we go. For the first time ever, we actually have money, which is wild. Never thought that would happen. The The possibility of funding a political youth group has arisen. This could serve to extend our ideological reaching and boost our election efforts. The presidency would privately funnel funding to the youth wing in exchange for loyalty and support in the administration. Let's not fund anybody here. Luxury is now taxable, and Rayne to put a lid on alcohol consumption. Okay, what else we got? I mean, this actually been going. We've done a lot of shit already. I was woken up in the middle of the night by a call of the Ministry of Defense. Due to the sensitivity of the information, I had to urgently briefed in person. I put on clothes as fast as I could. I rushed downstairs and opened the door. Sergei was waiting for me. I'm assuming Vagsland has invaded the island. Mr. President, this way to the car, please. We got into the car and made our way to the Ministry of Defense building without a word. I arrived and was directed downstairs. I came to a set of large doors and quickly read the sign above me. The sign read, War Room. The dimly lit room was filled with cutting-edge equipment, the latest video screens, long-range radar electronics, and other devices used for communication, presentation, and planning. Centerpiece of the room was a large round table with the coat of arms of Sordland engraved on it. David, Lysian, Valkin, and Yosef were already deep in discussion. Mr. Lancia, I advise caution. Going to war wouldn't help anybody. We must maintain peace with Sordland and Mistri Kopa at all costs. What do you expect us to do? Sit down and do nothing? They are testing us. We must respond immediately, otherwise they will think we are weak. Status report now. Mr. President, thank you for coming in at this late hour. There is a situation. Vaclin, please go on and provide your report. Mr. President, approximately 20 minutes ago, Rumberg downed one of our planes with anti-aircraft fire from the ground. The pilot declared KIA. This last recorded position of the plane was inside Swedish airspace. General Kruger, I mean no offense, but are we absolutely sure that this is the case? Are you sure this happened within our borders? No offense taken. Here, the location on the map and a report from the airbase. He pointed several markers on the map. To answer your question, yes, we're absolutely sure. You can see here on the map that the plane was down approximately 10 kilometers inside our borders. We've calculated the trajectory of the gunfire, and they started firing when our plane was within our border. The plane was down near Hagland. This is terrible. What should we do? We need to open up diplomatic channels to start an official investigation. Most importantly, we need to remain calm, and we must maintain peace. I agree. They're trying to lure us into a trap. We have enough military power to contest this violation of international law. An eye for an eye, that's what we need right now. We should attack and down one of their own planes in retaliation. We can't look weak. If we appear weak, they will jump on the opportunity. We must order a military retaliation immediately. Mr. President, our army is ready to do whatever it takes to protect Sordland. Gentlemen, before it comes to that point, we must prevent further bloodshed by using diplomacy. The room was self-violent before Joseph finally spoke up. Mr. President, what are your orders? We will approach it diplomatically. I have backing of Vagsland, which probably means I have backing the CSP. I do notice I did lose 1 point of economy, but that's fine. It's still green, I'll take it. We'll approach it diplomatically and try to de-escalate the situation by any means. No one wants war. Lucian's shoulders relax. Thank you, sir. I'm going to begin working on it. With Mr. Whiskey's capabilities, I am sure that we'll de-escalate the situation successfully. We will keep you updated on our progress. We should have retaliated. I hope the diplomatic response makes sure the further incidents like this are prevented. If there is a next time, I'm afraid there will be war. We are showing weakness. Of course, there will be war the next time around. I'm frankly disappointed, Mr. President. If we can't even retaliate after such an attack, what will become our country in the future? Peace must be maintained at all costs. I'm saying this as a man who has seen too many years of war. We are not the ones that are attacking the peace. Regardless, it looks like your decision has been made, Mr. President. I know when I am not needed, I'll take my leave. Well, now that we know the way forward, I have an idea, Mr. President. I think we should hold a military parade to display our strength. I'm with Mr. Lindsay on this one. This should work well as a deterrent and will come in handy as a tool to de-escalate the situation. That is a good idea. Simply and effective without cause of any ruckus. Makes sense? Organize a military parade. Understood. That is all, Mr. President. I will keep you updated on the situation. For now, have a good night's sleep. You will need it. I couldn't sleep at all last night. I like that this final thing there. Swordage plane shot down. Like, we need allies. Apparently we've confirmed crime a little bit. Urgent meeting on potential alliances. I was sitting right across from Diev in the White Room as we scheduled an urgent meeting. I knew this matter must have been serious. He insisted on waiting for Yosef and Lucian, so we did. Lucian entered the room by Yosef on his side. Mr. President, we came as fast as we could. Mr. President, Mr. Whiskey, what's going on? David clears his throat. Welcome, everyone. Due to the potential ramifications, I wanted everyone to be present for this meeting. We received an envoy from Katana. They are requesting a state visit. Judging by the current climate, it's not hard to see what this is about. CSP is always trying to expand its influence after all. They'll most likely try to convince us to join. In addition, as we are part of the state visit, Leon Malenyev will, of course, meet you in person, Mr. President. There's a lot we can gain from this visit. With all due respect, are you out of your mind, Mr. Lencia? This is madness. We cannot even consider accepting this. I bet you'll come asking us for cooperation and the guys enforcing their demands to join CSP. This will antagonize half the world against us, and we're going to have to be at the forefront of the battle. If you are approaching this from the perspective of national defense, then don't. We are in better shape than we were ever before. I assure you we don't need any outside help. Definitely not from Leon Malenyev. Let's see what he wants first. I'll decide when I talk to him. We need to be careful. Mr. Whiskey, we rely a lot on you as an expert in your field with a proven track record. What's your take on this? What do you think is the right action? World tension is increasing rapidly, Mr. President, and I am worried about the future. One misstep and the whole world might be engulfed in chaos. God, what if we end the game with just like a nuclear war? I'm afraid it might not be possible to stay neutral in the case. Our geopolitical position is simply too important. Soon we'll have to take a side. If we don't pick a side, we may end up right in the middle of a potential conflict. I'm of the opinion it's an opportunity that we cannot miss. It all boils down to your decision, but I will say that if you at least listen to what Leon Malenyev has to say... Lucian, what do you think? We heard our experts. You're the one who has to decide, sir. Very well, accept the offer. I will send a response immediately. Then there is a tiny detail we need to go over with first. How should we welcome the delegation, sir? A plain welcome will suffice. They are the ones who are requesting it. As you wish, I will take note. I think that is all for today, and thank you for attending. As you dispersed, the world map hanging on the wall in the room caught my attention. I walked over to it. How often were these lines on a world map redrawn over the recent decades? What about the future? Okay, so I think we're just going to go on for the next option then. An estate visit from Chairman Malenyev. The door of the pitch-black sedan opened and flashes went off. The famous ideologue, leader of United Katana, and the head of the CSP, Leon Malenyev, came out of the car, smiling and waving at the enormous crowd that gathered. It was not every day the leader of Katana came to visit Sordland. He was wearing his usual political uniform, grayish-green trousers, and a tunic with a soft, downturned collar, which was famed for its simplistic look. Leon Malenyev stepped on the carpet and started to make his way towards us. Together with Monica, we walked over to meet him in the middle. Finally, as I was reaching the distance to one of the most powerful men in the world, we both looked at each other and shook hands. It's really good to see you, Chairman Malenyev. You're very kind, Mr. Rayne. He turned to Monica and shook her hand. It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Rayne. Likewise, Chairman Malenyev, welcome to Sordland. How was your flight? It was definitely very long, but it was fine. I tried to sleep through most of the way. We started walking towards the reception hall in the palace. Our path was cleared of people at once. We looked at the extraordinary interior design of the room palace. Statues, painting, and various ornaments filled both sides of the corridor. What a palace! He pointed out one of the statues in the corridor as we walked, and it was a white marble sculpture representing of Albert Rayne, the founder of the Renan aristocracy. Was he the one, the original owner of this palace? Yes, it was built as his summer residence. I thought that Tarkan Sol came to power, he worked towards removing the Republic's connection to its feudal past. It's interesting that he removed the image of the last kings, but not the older figures. Was he fond of the aristocracy or the man? I know he despised the kingdom, but I think he still needed a glorious past to make the people proud. That's when Renan came in. That's what I suspected. If it was not going to be a kingdom he despised so much, it makes sense to look further back. He just left the parts he liked. Isn't it fascinating how a single person can alter history just like that? At a moment, we passed the corridor and entered the reception hall. Upon our entry, the crowd started clapping. It was composed of various politicians and state figures. Dry martinis were handed out to both of us. Everyone, let's make a warm welcome for our guest of honor. People started clapping. And with thunderous applause, the jazz band started playing. Together with Malenyev, we started talking to other people. The reception was still in full swing. After some time of chatting with the attendees, Malenyev turned to me. Can we go someplace where we can hear each other better? He and I swapped our drinks for Elroy Maroon 30-year-old into a special spot. With our drinks in hand, we went down to the stairs to the basement. Gradually, the music and sound of the party started to fade away. We arrived at a cozy little corner of the office, with not much inside other than a table and comfortable chairs. He took a seat and I followed suit. It's very nice of you to throw a party for me before our official talks, but I am very slightly tired of the long journey over the ocean. As much as I try to sleep on the flight, I'm an old man now, so don't mind me if I don't seem too enthusiastic about the reception. I just don't have the same energy as my youth. He smiled and took a sip from his glass, then he sighed. Time is a funny concept, isn't it? You cannot feel it in the moment, only to realize later in your life has passed you by, and one day you look in the mirror and see an old man. He took another sip. I believe you've used your time relatively well so far, Chairman Malenyev. You had a very full life. He laughed. I've seen many presidents and world leaders change during my lifetime. I've seen toppled governments, civil wars, and war crimes. I fought against imperialism and the capitalist plutocrats that took its place. I look at the world today and I think it has changed so much since I joined the Rostadis as a young revolutionary. But then I look at it again deeper and realize nothing much has really changed. It is maybe even more divided than ever. There are still wars in every corner of the world. There is still poverty, violence, and slavery. Don't you think we need to step up as leaders of the world and put an end to all this? I completely agree. We need proper international cooperation to tackle these problems, precisely, and that's where the CSP comes in. But before we talk about that, he took another sip from his glass and stretched his hand towards me. Could you help me? I grabbed his arm and helped him stand up. Could we talk somewhere a little less damp? I need some fresh air. Of course, please follow me, Chairman Malenyev. I led him up to the back stairs towards another unoccupied office with a balcony overlooking the Hill of Pride. There we settled down around a table and took our seats. It was rather chilly outside. Reaching into his distinctive jacket, he pulled out a pipe and placed some tobacco leaves inside of it. The smell of the leaves were so heavy that it took over the smells. All the smells it smelled, despite being outside. Chairman Helko told me a lot about you. After preparing his pipe, he lit it with a match. His eyes drifted away from me while the wind blew his hair and a smoke to his side. He stared at the horizon in the north. Beyond these plains lies a great murky sea, and in the middle of it, a small island, small, but very important. I'm glad you gave your support to Chancellor Hegel. It is unacceptable to see Voxland local and the island being destroyed by the anti-Vlogish regime in Hageland. The oppression transformed into a whole new level. All this is happening because Voxland joined the CSP. Now the Western powers are trying to get Angolia on their side. They are selling them financial aid, weapons, and intelligence in return for pushing their political agenda. This whole firepower is now being directed at the locals in Hageland. They want to finally eliminate the Vlogish culture on the island and set up a military base close to Voxland. We cannot allow that to happen, can we? I believe Voxland has a right to interfere. It's their people who are being massacred. That's right. But for me, this isn't a nationalistic problem. Whether they are Vlogs, Agnolians, or Katanans who are being killed, it doesn't matter. In the end, people are dying, and for no reason other than the political aims of their governments. Everything has come to a race of total influence in Mercopa, just as is part of Arcasia's grand plan. They want the CSP removed from the region. Agnolia is their puppet in this cause. He took a long puff of his pipe. The Knight Katana will never allow Arcasia to install weapons so close to Vajland, nor let them harass the CSP ships. They can't be given control of the Markian Sea. Hageland cannot fall. So you think Arcasia is behind this? It's not a thought, Mr. Rayne. I know. We cover agents everywhere. He took another puff and started coughing heavily. One of his bodyguards in full military uniform that was watching us from his sides rushed towards us with a bottle of water when he noticed Malenyev's coughing. Thank you, Mikhail, but I'm fine. The guard bowed in respect as Malian drank from his bottle. He then left the balcony with quick steps. So, where were we? Ah, yes. Sordland's future in the CSP. He cleaned up his burnt tobacco residue from his pipe and refilled it. You know, we found the CSP only in reaction to the ATO. Their aim in the beginning was to stop us from uniting the entire continent under socialism. They failed, and now they are more scared than ever. That's why they are being more and more aggressive. Today, you need the CSP in order to survive against the economic power of the West. United Katana is willing to give everything it has in order to help fight against Western dominance. I'm not sure if we need it, but I definitely want to cooperate. Don't get me wrong, Sordland is a powerful country, but the world has changed. You cannot stand alone. He lit his pipe and took a puff. The wind pushed all the smoke in my face. Without us, Arcadia would dominate the world. The Arcadian lira is already crippling other economies while bringing all the wealth to them. Yet they claim they're bringers of freedom. Absurd. Our pact aims to develop the rest of the world that are left out, bring people together and you make a stand, show the world the power of people when they unite. So hereby extending an invitation to Sordland, I want you to stand with us. What do you expect in return? You must accept our doctrines and work together towards the goal of the pact to further our power against the ATO. You will not import any technology from Arcadia, nor export any natural resources to them. And finally, we want you to allow us to build missile defense systems in Rhode Island, which will protect both Sordland and CSP from the threat of the ATO. What does the CSP offer for Sordland? Security. For the foremost, CSP is a defensive pact. You'll have the backing of the entire military power of the CSP. United Katana and all the members are obliged to defend each other in times of war. We will also supply each nation with military technology and assets, as well as financial aid when it's needed. All our members supply each other with their resources and goods, not for their own profit, but for the profit of the pact. Our combined production output will benefit both Sordland and the CSP. Not to mention the visa-free access to every country within the CSP, as well as other mutual assistance deals. He took another puff from his pipe. I will also offer you a small financial aid to help you kickstart your economy if you sign a deal. Chitrahego told me I could trust you with the money. You know what? It's a deal, Chairman Malenyev. It's good to see you stand with us, Mr. Rayne. We shook hands. We slowly stood up from our seat, seemingly struggling. Now, I'd like to have a rest, if you excuse me. Of course, come this way, please. I let him back inside. So what's new? Diplomacy. Embargoed by Arcadia. Katana missile defense system. Katanian influence. And Katanian military support. We got a modernized navy. We got anti-air missile bases, adequately equipped military, and investments from United Katana. So yeah, no, that's definitely like a big step here. CSP membership. Okay. So next up, I feel like we've definitely defended ourselves against Sordland. But I think it's also going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So thanks everybody for watching. My name is Anthnwam. If you enjoyed, my thumbs up. Not doing, click thumbs down. If you want to subscribe, and goodbye.